Thank you. So with that said, thank you for joining us this morning, everyone. My name is Helen, and I'm the Department of Biomedical Engineering's Academic and Student Affairs Manager. And I'm very lucky to be joined by Professor Clark Hung, our Director of Master Studies, and our Career Placement Officer, Ms. Kristen Henlon, Mr. Andy Garcia, our MS PhD student, who is also our BME MS Ambassador, and also Mrs. Megan Jameson, our school's Assistant Director of Admissions. And throughout this webinar, you are free to type in your questions in the Q&A box. Please do so in there instead of the chat box, because that's where we are answering questions and paying attention to it. And if we do feel like a question will benefit all attendees, or if the question can better addressed by the presenters, we will save it for the Q&A period at the end. We are recording today's webinar, and I'll be sending you the link to that so that you can review any materials that you might have missed, or you just want to refresh your memory on it. Now, without further ado, I'll hand the mic over to Professor Clark Hung.
And good morning, everybody. So I'm the director of the Master's Studies program. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to welcome everyone this morning, and just to emphasize, why choose Columbia to do your master's. And really comes down to having great faculty as well as, super bright students who are well motivated. And all of this is really in the context of New York City, which, now after the pandemic is sort of winding down, is really bustling again, and really a focus of discovery, innovation. And basically the goal of our program is to basically generate students who will have an impact in health sciences. Next slide, please. So in terms of the New York City background, it's really a rich and vital environment for biological health research. There's multiple academic medical centers. Obviously, we're at Columbia Presbyterian, which is linked also with Cornell. There's Mount Sinai, Sloan Kettering, NYU, and so forth. It's number 2 overall in NIH funding, which is really critical for the fundamental research as well as translational research from the biological sciences perspective and health. And then also in terms of life science initiatives, the city has put forth a lot of money in terms of building incubator spaces and new collaborative arrangements to try to generate a life sciences culture within New York City and its area. Next slide. So in terms of biomedical engineering, the latest US News World Report, we were ranked number 9. And as you can see, we have over 20 faculty who are full-time, and we have a very rich, diverse program in terms of undergraduates all the way to doctoral students as well. In the last several years, we've really made an effort to try to cultivate the master's students as well. And the master's students are really a key element to translation, because really in a 2 or 3 semester training program, they will really become the representatives of the university in terms of positions in industry and in other sectors of the health community. One thing I wanted to emphasize also is that in terms of the community, we have several startups that have led up from research from the faculty, and we have over $20 million in annual research expenditures. And overall, the faculty ratio to master's students is quite good, 1:8. Next slide. So it also turns out, and this is just an example of some of our strengths, we have Gurdana Bunyak, who's basically a university professor. So it's really one of a handful of the top researchers who have had impact at Columbia. She has, at least 4 or 5 startups that she's created as well. We have Aaron Kyle. So we've had several professors who've won, I think maybe 3 presidential awards for teaching. We have some really bright students. Nicole Moskowitz was listed Forbes 30 under 30. She created a company that helps to optimize injections into the spine. And basically, she's now in the New York City area again, but she had a startup in Chicago. And then we have Sona and Teresa, who started a company looking at basically a resource for basically looking at vital signs of young babies in third world countries. And that's a startup that basically is in Chicago, and they've already have a CE mark, which is basically the equivalent of sort of FDA approval from Europe to basically fund and to move their project into translation. Next slide. So in terms of the student experience, as I mentioned, it's typically a 2 or 3 semester program, depending on what you do during the summer. Fundamentally, there's basically a set of coursework, 2 required courses and 8 electives, and this is something that Helen will speak more specifically about. In terms of application of coursework materials, there's also the emphasis on research and design, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So one of the things that we try to do is we can also include technical electives in research for labs, where you get actually hands-on experiences and the ability, again, to translate course learnings into the actual lab and into industry. And with that in mind, we also have internships that are facilitated by Kristen Henlon to try to get people into the real world internship positions as well. All of this sits under the professional development sector, where basically there's a set of courses which help students prepare for networking, leadership, and internship opportunities, including from basic things on how to apply for jobs, how to prepare their interview skills, including their resumes. Next slide. So where do our graduates go? Well, we try to aim for students to be as flexible as possible, including professional employment in various areas: medical device industries, engineering, consulting, and biotechnology. And I would say one of the unique things about Columbia being positioned in New York City is that consulting is one of those areas where students do end up as well. The ability to bring quantitative skills to companies which are trying to figure out which technologies in the health field are the up and coming ones, and those which can have a major impact is really something that really melds the skills of multiple aspects of things that are learned. Students also sometimes will decide to pursue doctoral studies in biomedical engineering or related fields. With that in mind, the ability to do research and to get strong letters of support and recommendation from those that they've trained with, the PIs at the university, actually are critical and sort of a stepping stone to get into doctoral programs. Additionally, students may also elect to try to go to professional schools like medical school and dental schools, which will require, again, a well-rounded resume, some research experience, and strong letters of support. So ultimately, we try to provide a flexible background for our students to pursue whatever they'd like to do and try to guide them along the way. Next slide. So in terms of faculty research areas, again, there's 22 or so faculty and another probably 15 or to 20 affiliated faculty. And these are just examples of sort of thrust areas that the faculty bring to the table. And there's some overlap between them, but the one thing I would emphasize is that in terms of the faculty, many of us have joint appointments. So for example, I have a joint appointment with orthopedic surgery because my research focuses on arthritis, cartilage repair, and basically we work with clinicians in the medical center and as well in terms of translation of some of our products, including some things with local tissue banks as an example. Others have connections with the Department of Medicine, Department of Radiology. In particular, all of our imaging folks have joint appointments with radiology. And then a couple of our faculty also have joint appointments, for example, with a dental school. Next slide. So in terms of research opportunities, there's always opportunities to volunteer. 6 points of technical electives can actually be taken in research, so BME and E 9100, but also in the summer, there's the ability to do paid summer research opportunities. So I think it's like $5,000. You can stay in the summer to work in a lab in BME or in an affiliated lab. There's also the ability to do summer research internships in any of the labs on campus and beyond. In some cases, we can try to help facilitate. If you wish to do research credit in the summer, then you typically don't get paid, but then you would pay for credits to do research. And again, it's an opportunity to get hands-on experience and a strong letter of support. One of the things and questions that often comes up is, do you have to work necessarily in a lab that the PI is a BME faculty member? And the answer is no. In fact, if you find an opportunity at the medical center with a particular individual who does biomedical research that qualifies for BME 9100 credit, then what you would do is sign under myself as one of the faculty advisors for the master's program, or Professor Olson, who's also the other advisor, to get basically approval, and you can sign up under our particular sections of BME and E 9100, and we would facilitate grading with the PI of the particular lab you actually are in. So in this way, you have the ability to do work in affiliate labs, non-BME labs, and so forth. Next slide, please. So again, for us, the university mission is we aim to convey the products of its efforts to the world. We want to have an impact by training our students to basically see important problems, pursue them, and basically have an impact. And this really comes from multiple levels, from basically coursework, the hands-on experiences, as well as the background and professional development, because ultimately you can have great ideas, but if you can't convey them, and basically get interest in them, then you can't get funding for them, and also you can't basically secure the type of positions you're looking for to basically put yourself in the position to have those impacts. Next slide. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn over to Helen Chen. Again, she's the academics and student affairs manager, and she's really the guru in terms of the nitty-gritty administrative aspects of our program. So thanks.
Thank you, Professor Hung, and thank you for the insightful information on our department's graduate program offerings and research opportunities. In the next slide, I will briefly talk about the degree requirements. So students can complete the program either on a full-time or part-time basis. Full-time enrollment at Columbia University is defined as 12 credits or more enrollment. For international students studying under an F1 or J1 visa in the United States, you must enroll on a full-time basis except for your last semester of studies. Students who wish to study part-time has 5 years to complete the degree, and part-time enrollment is anything below 12 credits. A student can study part-time either through our on-campus program or our fully online program through the Columbia Video Network. CVN students are not required to complete 2 semesters of BME 9700 BME seminar, and limited to courses that are offered in the CVN format. Next slide. For a master's degree, our goal is to provide you with the flexibility to gain a set of specialized skills and ample research opportunities, along with innovative project design experience. You can see that this goal is reflected on our curriculum requirement right here. Students complete 30 credits total for the degree. That's approximately 10 courses. Some courses are 3 credits, some are 4, and some are less, and there are 1.5 credit courses as well. But in total, you have to earn 30 credits. The BME 6003 Computational Modeling of Physiological System course is the only credit-based core required course for the degree. This course is also a requirement for our PhD students. Hence, it provides a great chance for you to actually network with them, as well as if you plan to pursue a PhD afterward. You are also required to take a graduate level course from the Applied Math department at the engineering school, and then 4 graduate level courses offered by our department, BME. Worthy of mentioning is that 2 of the 4 BME electives, as in 6 credits total, can be master's research credits. So for those of you who pursue research opportunities during your studies with us, that's something to look into. You are also required to take 2 semesters of BME 9700 BME Graduate Seminar Series. The course is a 0 credit and graded pass-fail. Each week, we invite a professor from around the country to present at the seminar. So it is a great platform for you to learn about other BME field areas. And the remainder 12 credits can be any graduate level course offered at the engineering school, which means it can be BME offered courses as well. So you're not limited to only 4 BME courses during your studies. And we do allow 1 of the 4 courses to be outside of the engineering school, but that would require faculty advisor's approval. Some students would take a course at the Millman School of Public Health or at the business school. Next slide, please. If you're interested to explore courses that you can potentially take, you can visit our department's website at bme.columbia.edu, and under the drop-down menu, you would find a link to courses we currently offer for the academic year. Next slide. If you're interested in seeing what other courses are offered at the university, for example, other departments such as chemical engineering, electrical engineering, etc., you can Google Columbia University Directory of Classes or Columbia University Virtual, as in VERGIL, Virtual. These two platforms would allow you to explore courses offering across the university. So that's something you can look into as well to see what courses have been offered for this academic year. Next slide, please. Okay, I will now pass the mic over to Ms. Kristen Henlon, our BME Career Placement Officer, who will talk about the career resources and our career outcomes for our master's students.
And hi, everyone. Welcome. It's so nice to connect with you virtually. My name is Kristen Henlon. I am the Career Placement Officer for our department. So what does that mean? That means that I support the master's students in terms of kind of like these wraparound services. So I help with one-on-one counseling. That means if you just want to talk to me about your path, any questions you might have about what you can do after you graduate, what students typically do, how you can leverage your past work experience in ways that can help you find an opportunity after you graduate, I'm here to talk to you about that. I also help provide resources for opportunities within the field. We have a Canvas page where I post internships, research opportunities, and full-time opportunities in different parts of the country, as well as some international opportunities. I also help students with mock interview support. So that means I run kind of mock interviews with you, ask you questions that are usually behavioral questions to help prepare you. I look at student resumes, their cover letters, and I also do virtual events. So that would be a virtual coffee chat each week. I host an alumni, a recent one from our department, who talks about what they're currently up to. And so that could range from life science consulting to medical device to research and development to students who are doing things in biotechnology, just so that our students have an understanding of what's going on in the field and where they can go. I also host panel discussions, and I do a lot of cross-department events. So as you can imagine, people from BME come from all different backgrounds. And so I like to work with the mechanical engineering department as well as the chemical engineering department to kind of get a full source of resources for you all so that you can see what you can do in terms of the intersection of your interests. We also host virtual career fairs on our platform that is called VMOC. That's that little icon right here. And through that platform, we post jobs as well as some of the other opportunities I was discussing. So in terms of like a general overview of placement, I know that some students are interested about like what summer placement looks like. And so this is a pretty simple graph of it, but I wanted to just give you all some insight in terms of what it looked like over the summer. Summer 2020 was crazy, but we were really lucky to have about 94% of our students report placement. So that could mean they were doing research, that could mean that they had an internship, that could mean they had a fellowship in the summer of 2020. In terms of the industries, I think that this is a cool breakdown just because, as you can imagine, there is a bit of diversity in terms of what students are interested in. We've got a bunch of students interested in research, biotech, and a few of our students are going into consulting these days. And we have some who are in information technology or more like computational fields. And so you can see there's like a diversity in terms of where students were over summer 2020. And this is for our full-time statistics for students who graduated in 2020. This is about 3 months after they graduated. And as you can see, a lot of our students ended up going into industry, and a fair amount of our students, as you can imagine, do want to pursue PhDs. And so you will see that some of them went to graduate school. In terms of the breakdown, I wanted to just give you a bit of understanding of what that previous graph meant. You can see that about 43% of that number are in industry and the rest are in research. And then of that number, 20% are in graduate school. And some of the hiring companies, this is just a snapshot of some of them. There might be some names that you know and some names that you don't know. I think it's important to highlight that a lot of our students are interested in the startup spaces, as well as even starting their own companies, as Professor Hung mentioned. And so we see a lot of diversity in terms of where students go. We had one student go to NASA. And so it's really cool that the program kind of prepares you to go really anywhere you want to go, whether that be a research hospital, a PhD program, or a startup. Now I'm going to pass it over to Andy Garcia. He is a current PhD student in our program, and he started off as a master's student, so he'll give you some insight on his experience.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Kristen. So my name is Andy Garcia. I am a current PhD student, though I started off in the master's program here. Technically, I'm still a master's student. I started off in Dr. Clark Hung's lab, and I ended up liking it so much and liking my experience at Columbia so much that I wanted to stay and continue on to do a PhD. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what it's like to actually be a student and kind of how that works. So there's lots of stuff to do on campus. As we know, there's tons of opportunities and lots of flexibility in the program. And so it can be overwhelming. So we have a mentorship program right before you get on campus, where we'll pair you with a current master's student. You guys can talk about classes, experiences, internships, research, whatever it is, but really it's just to guide you and make sure that you can make the most of your experience here at Columbia and really plan that university experience. Something that a lot of students do is participate in research. It's definitely not necessary, but I think it's a valuable part of the student experience here. So during the summer, a couple weeks, maybe a week or so, 2 weeks before class starts, people start reaching out to professors and getting connections and seeing about starting work in a research lab. Next slide, please. So in addition to all that stuff, before you get on campus, once you're on campus, there's tons of opportunities to engage in both social and professional development events. So we have the Engineering Graduate Student Council, as well as the BME department host events for you, both virtual and in person. As you can see a snapshot of some of those events here. So you can, some of them are focused around entrepreneurship, getting your elevator pitch, getting a job, but then also holiday parties and social gatherings to really foster a nice sense of community here at the university. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot of some of the in-person events. They're starting to kind of get back on track. There's not a whole lot of in-person events just yet, so these are a little bit old, but we have social events again. We've got homecoming at Columbia, so you've got a nice community spirit here. Next slide, please. And then within the BME department, we have loads of different networking events, conferences, intramurals, sports teams, really to continue engaging in the community. And you're going to find a whole lot of friends here at the university that become your buddies, people that you study with, work with, and all that. Next slide, please. And then again, here are some of the BME virtual department events. These are really, really great. I highly recommend, if you're accepted and you enroll here, to participate in some of these. So we've got tissue engineering conferences and symposiums that we host. We also have alumni that come back and talk to you about their experiences in industry. And then something really interesting that started relatively recently is a work in progress talk, where students in different labs around the department will talk about their research and what's going on at the university, or rather in the department, to really keep you engaged with all the different labs, so you're not segregated and there's a lot of continuity with the research here. Next slide, please. In addition to all that, you're also going to have your professional development and leadership course. So this is for MS students. They train you on all things professional development, engaging in the workplace, touching up your resume and things like that. They're 0 credits, so you can sign up for as many sessions as you can. They're all free. And then also, Kristen spoke about this, the opportunities in the field of BME postings. These are really, really great. I've used this to actually find opportunities in the past. They post stuff all the time. There's tons of alumni career panels, things like that. So a lot of opportunity to really engage with industry and our alumni network. And then also the program itself, gives you all that flexibility to do whatever you need to at the university. So Dr. Hung and Helen are really, really great, as well as Kristen. So definitely once you're here, make use of them. I don't want to give you guys too much extra work there, but they're really great resources. And so it's really not just the events and things that we have here, but the people as well that really make your experience really, really valuable. Next slide, please. Great. And with that, I'll hand it over to Megan Jameson, the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Megan Jameson. Again, I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions here at Columbia Engineering. And today I'm going to share with you some information on the Office of Admissions, Graduate Student Affairs, some deadline information, and some admissions criteria. So the first thing you'll do is create an online application. You can find the link to this application on our website. I'll also put one in the chat in case anyone is interested in applying for spring or fall 2022. Our application is currently open. We're going to require that you submit with your application official copies of your transcripts from all the institutions that you've attended. You're also going to need 3 letters of recommendation. We do recommend that 2 out of the 3 of these are academic recommendations or from folks that you have done research or lab work with. Now, in previous years, we have required GRE scores. However, we are not going to be requiring these for our 2022 applications. A decision has not yet been made about future terms, but again, for this coming term, we're not going to be requiring these, though you are welcome to attach them if you would like to. We'll also ask that you submit a personal statement and resume, as well as TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo scores for students who were educated outside of the US that would be applicable for. And then we have an application fee of $85 upon submission of your application. Also keep in mind the priority deadline for fall MS programs is February 15th. And for spring, the priority deadline is December 11th. So if you are interested in applying for spring, that deadline is coming up in about a month. So again, I will put the link to our application in the chat after we are done chatting here today. Next slide, please. This is just a more detailed application deadline timeline. You can also find this on our website, so no need to memorize this information, but feel free to take a screenshot of it. Next slide, please. Now, here at Columbia Engineering, we are serious about academics, but we also really value building community among our students, faculty, and staff. So like Andy mentioned, we have many student organizations on campus for you to get involved in. Some examples include the Engineering Graduate Student Council, or EGSC, which serves as kind of a student government. The Society of Women Engineers, which is geared towards women in STEM. We have groups focused on industry and research, as well as interest-based clubs. And we really do encourage everyone join one or more of these groups. We really believe that it enhances the graduate experience. Next slide. GSA also hosts and supports lots of graduate student socials so that our students can have a chance to really get to know their peers in a social setting as well. So the Office of Graduate Student Affairs has organized trips to Broadway, sporting events, other social events, both on and off campus. COVID has impacted this a bit, but GSA still continues to host these types of events, both on and off campus, simply with the inclusion of masks and the vaccine requirements. And with that, I will hand it back over to Helen, but please feel free to reach out to us with any questions via email at csgradmit@columbia.edu. You can also follow us on social media. We would love to chat with you, and we hope to see you on campus soon.
So in addition to the Graduate Admission Office's contact information, we also have our own social media for the department, and we are very active on these 3 different social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I really strongly suggest you to follow us on there to see where our department is moving towards, any new events that's open to the public for you to listen in on or attend. If you have any further questions after our info session today, please feel free to email us at bme-ms@columbia.edu. both Professor Clark Kung, Professor Lisa Olson, and myself is on this email alias. So we will be answering questions if you send the email there. It will not go into a black hole, I promise. Next slide, please. And so with that said, we have concluded our presentation for today. We'll move on to the question and answer portion